Hello, my name is Rachel Foresta. I'm a TME for NativeEdge, and today in this demo, we're going to cover how to deploy containers directly to NativeEdge endpoints using a solution blueprint. We'll first start off by taking a look at our Docker Compose file, which is made up of 3 containers. Those containers are named Elasticsearch, Logstash, and Kibana. This stack allows users to analyze any dataset using a set of tools for searching, analyzing, and visualizing those data sets. When bundled together, it's known as the ELK container set, or some folks know it as an ELK stack. To deploy this in NativeEdge, we'll be using a blueprint. And this blueprint file calls the Docker Compose file that we just saw, as well as provides all of the necessary inputs, such as container name, as well as setting any CPU or memory limits. Now let's see it in action. So the first thing we're going to do is navigate to our NativeEdge Orchestrator UI and click on the Catalog tab. Here we see all of the applications as well as blueprints that have been uploaded or have come with that catalog. Here we've uploaded our demo ELK blueprint, and when we launch the deployment wizard, we see all the various inputs that we just saw in that blueprint YAML file. We'll go ahead and give it a deployment name, but we'll leave the defaults for the container names as well as the CPU and memory limits, though we could change those here if we desire. On the deployment's target page, we're going to select multiple endpoints and do a scaled deployment of this ELK container stack. Once deployed, we can see our deployments in progress on this page. And if we click into one of those deployments, this is where we can see some properties about that particular deployment, as well as the logs. Now, what's interesting on this page is you also have the ability to temporarily stop and then resume the deployment, but you also have a couple of other options as well. If something had gone wrong and you need to force stop or cancel or make an update to the deployment, you can do all of that here. Now let's check on our deployments in progress. And there we are, they're completed. So now we'll navigate to the Endpoints tab. So if you recall, this is one of the endpoints that we chose in the deployment wizard. We're going to go ahead and click on Networks first. And here we can see that a virtual network segment was created as a part of the blueprint. Now this is a NAT segment, which means the containers on this machine have the ability to communicate to one another. However, anything else that was not a part of this deployment, none of those other containers or virtual machines would be able to communicate with these containers because of the way that we've set up that virtual network segment. Next, we're going to navigate to the Hardware tab, click on Storage, and go over to the Volumes and Data Stores. And here we can see that in addition to the virtual network segments, we also have volumes that were created for the containers as well. I'll show you here in just a bit that you'll have the ability to update a container. And the thing is, when you update the container, what it's really doing is destroying and redeploying a container. But this storage is persistent. So when you do that update, you're good to go. Let's go ahead and move on to the Containers tab. This is where we can see the 3 containers that were spun up as a part of our deployment. So this is where I have the ability to do those lifecycle management type controls on the containers themselves. This is where I can stop or restart, or as I just mentioned, update those containers. If I click on a container itself, I'll be brought to the details page to see properties of that container. I also have the ability to console into that container and type some simple commands. And I can also look at the logs as well. This can be helpful if I need to do any kind of troubleshooting of the application that's running inside the container. So with the Kibana deployment, a dashboard was created. And if we put in the IP address of the endpoint on which it was deployed, and then we make sure to add port 8081, which we found on the properties page of our container itself, we can see that the Kibana dashboard was launched successfully. So in summary, what we've seen today is the ability to deploy containers directly to a NativeEdge endpoint, creating the virtual network segment, creating the persistent storage, being able to lifecycle manage as well as get logs for those containers, and successfully launching the Kibana dashboard, all utilizing a NativeEdge blueprint. This concludes the demo.